Welcome to the Kindest Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time. On this week's The Kindest Project, songs that make you cry, the best prank ever, and the kindest characters in children's fiction. Hi, and welcome to episode 7 of The Kindest Project. Today, I'm joined by... I went really serious there, didn't I? Shall I start again?
No,
just carry on. Just carry on. I'll just carry on. Today, I'm joined by, as you just heard, she's my daughter in the water, in the famous words of Loudon Wainwright Jr. That's my daughter in the water. It's Charlotte. How you doing, Charlotte?
Not bad.
Good.
And I am joined by the man you just heard introducing me. The man who can think himself out of most situations, Chris James.
Right. So I'm taking that as a compliment, and maybe I'm just thinking myself into a situation where that's a compliment. Explain what you mean.
You can think your way out of most situations. If you get stuck in jail, you can get yourself out again.
I'm not convinced thinking myself out of jail will particularly work, but thanks for that.
You can think up a solution.
Yeah, I hopefully I'll try my hardest, but
not to end up in jail.
You know what, right? So there's a few songs that I love, and genuinely, that Loudon Wainwright Jr. song makes me cry every time. That makes me cry. At the minute, Paolo Nutini, Better Man, just has me in tears. This isn't question of the podcast. This is just something I've thought about. What song makes you cry?
I've got a couple actually. Keith Urban, Tonight I Want to Cry.
See, I listened to that and I thought that was quite schmaltzy, but you enjoy it, don't you? Yeah.
Collide. I mean, it's not my favourite song, but it does.
Who's that by?
I don't know. I just found it on YouTube and I just keep listening to it. It just makes me want to cry.
Okay.
What else? What makes me want to cry? I had it in thought. I had it in my brain. There was a song I was thinking about and I can't remember what it is now.
Don't worry, we'll come back to it.
Dad's song, that's it.
Dad's song?
Yeah, it was written by a guy and he wrote it for his dad. And he kept telling his dad that he was going to write a song for him.
Okay.
And only after his dad died did he end up writing a song for him.
Okay.
So it's all about how he misses his dad and how his dad was his inspiration.
Gotcha.
So
there's a song from either the late 80s or early 90s called The Living Years. I think it was by Mike and the Mechanics, and that's a similar sort of story. So he said it's a story about what a son wished he'd do before his dad arrived. And really interesting, I've been reading loads at the minute about things that happen in our life that are quite tragic but motivate us to do things that are positive because we realise that actually life is really short.
Yes.
So maybe that's something we'll explore in a future podcast, because I think being inspired to kindness by tragedy is something that can potentially be a recurring theme. So we'll explore that. However, what I want to get to is...
the Twitter handles.
Sorry. Let's do the Twitter handles first.
This is usually where I have to insert the Twitter.
Go on then, put the Twitter handles. Insert the Twitter handles. Was it carry on podcasting? Insert the Twitter handles.
Okay.
They're not the Twitter handles, they're a very naughty boy.
Don't quote Monty Python on me, mate.
What did the Twitter handles ever do for us?
Irrigation!
So what's our Twitter handles? Don't forget the H. Do not forget the H.
Hola, kindness.
Where's the H? Hola. Holla is the way we do it. Holla! Right, okay. So how's that spelled? Holla. There's not an H in that, is there, surely? I didn't hear a H.
Silent H.
A silent... It's a silent H.
It's a soft H, guys.
It's a soft H. So how's that spelled?
HOLA, kindness.
HOLA, kindness. And the email address is...
HOLA@kindnessproject.co.uk.
HOLA at thekindestproject.co.uk. Now we do this every week, and most weeks we get it wrong. So if you'd actually like to get our Twitter handles personally, our Twitter handles for this podcast, plus our email address, you can find them all on www.thekindnessproject.co.uk.
Make sure you don't get that one wrong either.
Let me say it again. www.thekindnessproject.co.uk. Now,
since when did WW only have two W's? It's WW.
So I'm going to do it one more time, just for complete clarity. www.thekindestproject.com.gov.co.uk, and now we're completely clear. We can get on with the rest of the show. Nanny Bob. So Nanny Bob is my wife's mum, right? Charlotte knows that, but I thought for the purpose of the listeners, it's worth explaining. And she phoned the office the other day. Cassie and I run a business together, and phoned the office to get Mum's number because she didn't have it on her phone.
She called me as well.
Did she? She called you after though, didn't she?
Yeah.
Because what I did is say, okay, no worries. Have you got a pen and paper? She went, yeah. And I went, right, are you ready? She went, yeah. And I went, 2, 4, 7, 8, 6, 87, 424.
But UK numbers are supposed to have 07 at the start.
Yeah, I know. But it was only when I got to about 20 digits did she realise it was a little prank. It was a little prank, and she just called me something and put the phone down, which is what all mother-in-law should do. We've got. It seems that the question of the podcast, we've got an official question of the podcast, but we've also got an unofficial question of the podcast. So. Please, what prank? The unofficial question of the podcast. This isn't the official one. Is what's the best prank you've ever played on somebody? In the spirit of kindness. I don't want any cruelty. I only want kind pranks.
I don't really play pranks, but there's this thing that some of the boys do in my drama club. And what they do, we play this game. It's called Grandma's Keys.
Yep.
And it's someone has to stand and they have to turn around, and we've all got to work together to get the keys. And what some of the boys in our drama club do, because the floor has been made up, it's now really slidey and skinny. So what they do to distract the person at the front, slide across the floor.
Good move.
And we're all standing there. Some of us are shuffling forward as they're paying attention to the sliders across the floor.
Ah, right, okay.
And we just get closer.
Is that like Mr. Wolf? It sounds a bit like Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, you've got to take the keys back.
Gotcha.
So you've got to get back without them figuring out who's got the keys.
Gotcha. But yeah, a floor slide is always appreciated. So that's good. And we've also, if you want to answer some questions of the podcast of previous weeks, we've got quite a few. So what is the most inspiring movie ever? Are most people generally good? The best use of an egg. If you could be a character from any favourite book, what would it be?
Countries you want to visit.
Countries you want to visit. If you were the supreme ruler of the world, what would you do? And, most importantly, feel free to answer the number one unofficial podcast question of the week. Do you like Nick Cage? Really?
And also don't feel that you can't ask questions.
Oh yeah, certainly.
Feel free to ask questions.
Listen, we want your stories of kindness. We want your questions of kindness. We want your podcast questions of the week. You should be giving us podcast questions of the week.
We like contributions, guys.
So we want contributions at the Twitter handle, via email, or on the website. So feel free to get in touch on any of those.
Did we do
on
our
any of those
individual
things?
Twitter handles?
Would you like to share that, Charlotte?
Okay, you start.
Okay, so my individual Twitter handle is at Chris, CHRIS, Dames, D for Delta, A for Alpha, E for Echo, M for Mother, S for Sugar. And yours is?
Charlotte, at Charlotte, CHARLOTTE, J, Dames, DAEMS.
So we've not even got to the official question of the podcast.
This should be fun.
Okay, are you ready for it? You don't know what this is yet, do you?
Drum roll.
Drum roll. Okay, is there drum roll?
Good use of the box.
Question of the podcast is: what is your favourite piece of trivia ever?
Elvis Presley died on the toilet eating a hamburger.
It's not a bad bit of trivia. That is a pretty good bit of trivia. My favourite bit of trivia is who used the first ATM machine in the UK.
I don't know.
See, this is going to be lost on you, but the answer is Reg Farney from On the Buses.
Who?
Charlotte is looking at me completely blankly, but hopefully
I'm guessing
listeners...
I need more 80s education.
This isn't even 80s, this is like the 60s and 70s.
Oh, okay.
But Reg Farley. I mean, look, I've taught you about cribbins. I need to, because you play the ukulele, I certainly need to teach you about George Formby.
Talk me about the Fraggles.
The Fraggles are awesome. The A-Team's awesome. Knight Rider's pretty good. But yeah,
He-Man and the Master of the Universe.
it was all right. On a second viewing, it's probably not as good. But
Voltron.
I've talked to you about Nick Cage quite a lot.
Your dislike for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, he might change my mind. And Nick, if you're listening, please write in and tell me why you're such a lovely fella. But shall we get on with the show?
Oh, yes.
Hi, and welcome back to one of my favourite segments of the show. Mainly, not because of the awesome stories we share, but mainly because of the jingle that Charlotte came up with that promotes the show. So take it away, Charlotte. This part of the show is called...
Kindness news.
I don't know whether the cough's needed
Yes, it's needed.
to do it.
It's needed.
It's required. So every week we try and share stories of how awesome people are in the world, just through little news stories that we've picked up from the internet or read in the paper of just how brilliant people are. Now we seem, over the last few weeks, we seem to be sharing quite a lot of Christmas stories. Is this one a Christmas story?
No.
Oh yeah, we've got a non-Christmas kindness story. Take it away, Charlotte.
Okay,
tell
a
us all about it.
29-year-old barber rallied support among his local community to give an 100-year-old customer a heartwarming birthday surprise. Graham Griffiths from Milksham, Wiltshire, regularly cut pensioner Jack's hair in his shop. He mentioned he had no family and his wife had sadly passed away, which is never nice to hear. As Jack's 100th birthday approached, Graham appealed to the local community to help organise a special treat for Jack.
Awesome.
Both men were overwhelmed by the community's support. On the 10th of July, Graham took to the Facebook to ask friends, family and members of the local community to give Jack a happy birthday. The little old chap I have come in my shop that I've mentioned before that doesn't have any family. It's his 100th birthday next Tuesday, he wrote. I'm thinking about getting cake made for him. 100 years is incredible. Anyone local able to do this for me? If anyone fancies sending a birthday card to my shop for me to pass on, his name is Jack. He will be very grateful. He's a lovely bloke. It wasn't long before local resident Ali Wilton offered to make a cake, complete with an icing figure of Jack riding his mobility scooter.
Oh!
The barber was
now, I was loving Jack before this, but now I know he sort of rides around town on a mobility scooter. It's added a bit of colour to the story, right?
Yeah.
What colour was his mobility scooter? Do we know?
From the picture, it looks like he's got a black mobility scooter.
It's like Knight Rider. Has he got red lights on it? No?
Yeah, I can't tell from
Right, okay.
The barber also received many cards from local residents, with almost 100 people sending their best wishes to Jack. Graham delivered the cards and cake to Jack on his birthday, along with a handful of balloons, much to the pension's delight. Jack also seemed particularly chuffed to receive a £10 Greggs voucher.
Greg, how many pastas can you buy in Greggs with the tenner? That'd be a good little present to have.
The sweet video of Jack receiving his gifts has been viewed more than 40,000 times on Facebook, with hundreds of people commenting to praise Graham for his kindness.
Love it.
What a lovely thing to do. Need more people in this world like you.
So you know what's interesting, Charlotte? I think a couple of things on that. Number one, and excuse this really bad barber-related pun, I'm glad that he went into that barber's because he may have been lonely at Christmas. It was a very close shave.
It was actually his birthday, but well.
Oh yeah, it was a non-Christmas story, wasn't it? It was actually his birthday. Sorry, I got that wrong. But actually, one of the things that's been highlighted over when we've been doing these kindness news stories over the last few weeks is social media gets a lot of stick for being a place where hatred is bred, but actually the opposite's true, isn't it? So I know that there's communities on Facebook that do great stuff every single day.
Yeah.
And obviously that's happened in this case as well, right?
Yeah.
So I think the fact that a community's reached out to help this guy with his cool mobility scooter and his £10 Greggs voucher, I wonder what he's going to get. Do you reckon? What do you like in Greggs?
Chicken tikka.
Chicken tikka bake.
Chicken tikka sandwich. Yeah.
Chicken tikka sandwich, awesome. So that's a great news story, and getting to 100 is a great achievement in itself, right? So well done to that community, and that particular barber who helped out that man on such a momentous birthday. And that's it for this week's Kindest News.
Triple digits.
Triple digit birthday, you know.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I think like more people are going to be getting to 100, but even so, that's a massive achievement. And you don't want to do that on your own. You don't want to do that without people who genuinely care around you. So I really do love that story. So thanks for sharing it. And that's it for this week's Kindest News. We'll see you next week.
Okay, Dad, what are we talking about today?
I don't know, you tell me.
We're talking about the kindest characters in children's fiction.
Awesome.
I thought it would be cool since we were talking about books.
We did talk about books in the earlier podcast. And there's got to be some really kind characters in fiction.
Yeah.
So, you've thought about this and you've got a list of really kind characters.
Yes.
Is Voldemort on the list?
No, but there is some Harry Potter characters on there.
Okay, come on.
Okay, so quite a few. Grandpa Joe from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Okay, so if you remember Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Grandpa Joe was obviously Charlie's grandfather.
Yeah.
And he was quite a kind character because he was always encouraging Charlie to do what he wanted and do what he believed in.
Yeah.
Like,
he was a bit lazy, Grandpa Joe. I mean, he didn't get out of bed, did he?
he couldn't get out of bed. He was pretty much...
He jumped out of bed when he got the golden ticket. I mean, literally, there was no stopping him when he had
but
that.
he was told, don't get up, don't get up. But he jumped out of bed so he could help
Charlie.
Okay. So that's why he's a kind character.
Okay, that's fine.
Albus Dumbledore.
Dumbledore's an awesome character, isn't he?
Dumbledore's an awesome character.
Quite mysterious as a kind character.
Yeah, but obviously he helped Harry. He knew Harry's parents. He gave Harry to the family that he thought would be kindest to him. Honestly, wasn't a very good choice, but he tried. So it's not that counts.
He's kind, just not always the best decision maker in the world.
He even sacrificed his own life so that Harry and the rest of the team could defeat Voldemort.
Now, please, no spoilers on that because I still haven't seen the last 3 Harry Potter films. So
Really?
No, I'm only like halfway through Game of Thrones as well. So no Game of Thrones spoilers. Well, who's next?
Lucy Pevensey from the Chronicles of Narnia. So if you remember in the first...
You mean The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
So remember, she came through the wardrobe and she met this creature.
Yeah.
And she befriended it. And actually, she was quite young. But obviously, she was really kind. Like, she would talk to anyone she met. She tried to help other forest creatures, even though she was not strong herself. She tried her best to help everyone, including the lion. Aslan, I think his name was.
Aslan, yeah.
I think out of all her siblings, she was one of the kindest. Like, her brothers were warriors. Her sister was a warrior, but she was...
She was a nurturer.
She was a nurturer, yeah.
Who was the boy? It's been years since I read The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. But who was the boy who the Snow Queen lured with Turkish delight?
Oh, I don't remember.
I can't remember. But there was a bit where a child was lured with chocolates.
Yeah, it was the younger brother.
It was.
He was older than her, but he was the younger of the 2 brothers.
Okay.
I was hoping you could talk about this one. You've read the book. To Kill a Mockingbird.
So, who's the character they...
Boo Radley.
Okay, yeah, I remember the character of Boo Radley, but To Kill a Mockingbird is one of my favourite novels.
Yes, which is why I was hoping you could talk
and
about it.
It's full of humour. Actually, it's full of tragedy. And if we ever get round to a question of the podcast about one of the most inspiring books, it's one of the most inspiring books I've ever read. It's a story of injustice, of redemption, of an individual putting their neck on the line to defend other people. And I can't remember whether Boo Radley was the father.
He was the next door neighbour.
Yeah, he was the next door neighbour. See, I always thought in To Kill a Mockingbird, the most outstanding kind person was the dad of the narrator, who was actually a lawyer who represented somebody who was black in that part of the world.
Yeah.
Who and supported him through an area of injustice. So I'll have to reread it, I think, Charlotte, because I don't actually remember that specific character. But if there's any listeners that do, please do let us know.
Next one, Dorothy Gale from The Wizard of Oz.
You know what? I didn't realise her surname was Gale, did you? And it works.
Actually quite ironic.
It works with the typhoon stuff, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be better if she was called Dorothy Windy.
No.
Dorothy Blow. Okay, Dorothy Gale. Okay, so why do you think she's so kind?
Because right at the beginning, she killed the witch, but she didn't.
Oh, that's kind.
Yeah, but she didn't know.
Since when is murder kind?
She landed her house on top of the witch.
Oh, okay. It was an accidental manslaughter. Well, so since when has manslaughter been kind?
Since it was the wicked witch.
Oh, right, gotcha.
And she even though she was wicked, she felt sorry for killing her in a way. And then when she was on her way to get herself home, she stopped to help all these creatures. She had no idea, she'd never met them before, and she stopped to help them. She stopped to listen to their troubles, which I think makes her quite kind. Yeah,
fair enough. So I think the Wizard of Oz is full of stories of humanity, so that's fine.
Yes.
Who's next?
Mary Poppins.
Oh, good old Mary Poppins. From
drum roll please, Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins from what film?
Mary Poppins.
And from what book?
Mary Poppins.
And who wrote Mary Poppins?
P.L. Travers.
She did. So Mary Poppins is an incredibly kind character, but not always in ways that you'd think, because she's quite stern as a character at times.
Yeah, she is, but sometimes being cruel is kind.
Okay, so to be cruel to be kind is what we're saying. Who's your favourite character out of Mary Poppins that's not Mary Poppins?
I quite like the banker.
Dear, the dad.
Yeah.
Let's go fly a kite.
No, I like the bit at the beginning of the movie where Mary Poppins has to talk to him and she says, "Do you think the Queen does the housework?" I just quite like that bit because that scene is also in an episode of Doctor Who.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, fair enough. I quite like the suffragette wife.
Yes.
Yeah, so I like Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is a classic film. What I'm not too keen on, Charlotte, in Mary Poppins, even though I love Dick Van Dyke, is his dodgy Cockney accent. I mean, we don't talk like that, do we, as Cockneys? It just doesn't. It just doesn't happen like that. God blimey, Mary Poppins. Anyway, what's next?
Bruno from The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas.
Oh. See, I've never read the book.
I have. We had to read
You've read the book. So what did you think of the book?
It was really good. It made me cry.
Who was Bruno? Was he the boy?
He was
son of the commandant, yeah?
He was the German boy, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He went every day to visit Small, I think it was his name.
Okay.
Because they were friends, even though he knew that he wasn't allowed to, he wasn't supposed to. His dad told him he wasn't supposed to go down there.
Okay.
His sister.
But he went every day.
Who went every day, talked to him, and he even, in the end, died because...
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Too late, because you've just spoiled it.
He even in the end died.
You know what? When I saw that, I haven't read the book, but when I saw that in the film, it was the right ending for the particular story. But it was such a powerful ending. That is a brilliant film. Is that the end of the list?
Mary Poppins popping on. There's more than one on the list, or I may have. Minerva McGonagall, so another Harry Potter one.
Okay, can I share one? I think the book thief from the book thief is probably my most favourite.
Human.
There's a few really interestingly written characters in the Book Thief.
Yep.
But the Book Thief is probably my favourite kids' book of all time.
Yep.
It's not really a kids' book. It's more of a sort of teen to adult fiction book. Very, again, like all good literature, very sad, very human, very funny, very tragic, but most of all shows how even in places that aren't particularly kind, kindness can shine through. I absolutely love The Book Thief, and if you haven't read it, certainly pick that one up. So any other characters from books that you think are particularly kind?
Miss Honey from Matilda.
Miss Honey from Matilda?
Yeah.
Tell me about her.
Right, basically, her aunt was the mean headmistress.
Yeah. Trunchbull, wasn't it?
Trunchbull, yeah. Trunchbull. And she had to live with her aunt when she was younger, and she moved away, but she still worked at the school.
Okay.
And she met Matilda, and Matilda's parents were awful, and she sort of, at the end...
Awful of what?
Just they were awful.
Oh, right, awful.
They treated her like...
I thought you were going to say all full of, like, chocolate, or...
they treated her like she wasn't there sometimes. And Miss Honey in the end ended up adopting Matilda. I think.
Oh, bless.
I love that kind of ending because obviously Matilda was a sweet child.
Yeah.
And she had everything taken away from her.
Yeah.
She had everything snatched from between her tiny fingers, and Miss Honey kind of took her in after everything that happened.
But the weird thing is, Roald Dahl appears a couple of times on that list. And I bet the BFG. The BFG is quite kind. Yeah, the BFG is quite a kind
He's
character.
literally called the Big Friendly Giant.
That's absolutely right. He's big, he's friendly, he's giant. It's not the best names in the BFG because actually the not particularly pleasant giants get the good names. They get like Snodgecumber and Snodgecumber was the thing they ate, wasn't it? Like Bone Crusher and Blood Boiler and all that.
Blood Bottler.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. So we think that Roald Dahl in children's fiction was the best at writing kind characters. Do you think that's because he always wrote really gruesome characters and they always offset against each other?
Yeah. I mean, he always put characters that weren't particularly kind to take care of the characters that were.
Yeah, there was always that sort of bad carers thing. I mean, James and Giant Peach is the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what was the one about the boy who... Did he poison his gran or something? What was that one?
Charlie's Medicine or something.
Yeah. So...
Like his parents, they always left him with his nan.
Yeah.
And then he made this medicine because he didn't like her.
Yeah. Please don't make me any medicine like that, or Grandad, because I don't think he'd appreciate it. But yeah, so we think, listeners, that Roald Dahl is the best creator in children's fiction of kind characters.
He also makes mean characters too.
And one of the reasons that he makes such good kind characters is because they're always offsetting his literature with kind characters.
Mean characters.
Mean characters. Not kind characters and kind characters and mean characters. But we're interested in what you think. So who are the kindest characters in either children's or adult fiction? We look forward to hearing from you. So that's the end of another podcast.
Woo-hoo!
But as usual, we have got the question of the podcast last week to answer. Can you remember what last week's question of the podcast is?
Was it about being the supreme ruler of the world?
It was. So the question was, if you were the supreme ruler of the world, what is the first thing you'd do? Now you quit, Charlotte, wouldn't you? You'd said you wouldn't want the job.
I'd resign.
You'd resign immediately.
So I'd probably do something really stupid, like make musicals a compulsory thing in school.
I love that idea. You know what? Let's make like our lives like a musical. That'd be good.
Musicals.
Yeah, no, that is true. What musical would you like to live in? That's a future question of the podcast, isn't it?
That's actually a really good question. Be more chill.
Be more chill. So, would you like to hear what other people said?
Go ahead.
So, question of the podcast last week. If you became supreme ruler of the world, what's the first rule you'd put in? Amy Rowe said she'd introduce critical thinking. And then she said, actually, I'd introduce critical thinking even when critical thinking help. I think I've fallen down the rabbit hole. And I think I've fallen down the rabbit hole with her because I'm really now confused what she means. So maybe she means that people should spend more time just thinking more sensibly.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe. This one is one that resonates with me in a big way. Rachel, who's making an appearance again, says pigs in blankets all year round. Now, I've been saying that, haven't I? You know, let's make sure that pigs in blankets aren't just a Christmas... Why are you looking like that? You're not sure?
If it was a year-round thing, it wouldn't be as special.
I get it. I'd still enjoy pigs in blankets all year round.
When did you get bored of them? Just like every day, Mum brings out, here's some pigs in blankets. It's like, we had pigs in blankets yesterday.
Do you reckon I'd ever get bored of pigs in blankets?
Yes, we'd have to change the sausage variation.
Look, if we can find 365 different sausage variations, why would we need to eat anything apart from pigs in blankets?
What about your veggies? Are you carbs?
No, I'll have veggies. I'll have veggies in one or two ways. Number one, next to my pigs in blankets, and maybe we do a veggie pig in blanket.
It's called a corn sausage.
That doesn't sound nice, a corn sausage. It just, I'm not going to have one of them. But I'd eat a sausage filled with carrots and sweets wrapped in bacon. That sounds really nice. No? You're not loving that? Matt Walm said football matches can only kick off at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. You're not worried about that one, are you?
I'm not a big football fan.
Chris Haycock said, you've got to spend 1 hour a week helping somebody less fortunate than yourself. Now, I like that.
Yeah, if you're the least fortunate person, it just becomes more obvious that you're the least fortunate person.
It doesn't matter if it's obvious. If people help you, you may not become as unfortunate. So that makes sense to me. Stu Morrison said, I've given this much thought over the years, so he's obviously thought about being Supreme Leader of the World before, Charlotte. Day one, action item 1 is for there is a global reasonableness contract. You have to be reasonable. You can't be unreasonable.
One person's reasonable is another.
Well, that's the challenge. What's reasonable to you might be different to what's reasonable for me. So,
just like we want £1,000. Be reasonable. I don't even have £1,000.
Be reasonable. All right, 500.
I don't even have 500. Be more reasonable.
Failure to see sense and come on, settle down now will result in immediate expulsion from the planet. Now, in my head, that's with a giant catapult. You know, there's just a giant catapult you put people on that just like sort of hurls them into space.
No, it's a giant rocket ship that sends you out to this satellite where all you can eat is Brussels sprouts.
Okay, and then all you can eat on Earth is peas and blankets. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. What about my potato salad?
Yeah. So, but what Stu would do to decide what was reasonable or not is he'd have a meeting. Just a little meeting, just to decide whether you're going to be catapulted off Earth. I mean, like, I don't know if that's enough.
I mean, we didn't say catapulted.
He said ejected from the planet. How are you going to do that?
Giant cannon.
Cannon. Maybe a cannon's the way to go. Aisha said no arms industry and resolve disputes via dialogue only. Yeah. Now, not arms as in the things that are connected to your shoulders. No guns or missiles. I like that idea.
The bit about the violent by talk, I saw this show. It's an anime. You're probably gonna think it's really funny. About a world where there was violence wasn't allowed. All disputes had to be solved by games.
Okay.
It's like rock paper scissors.
Cool.
Or chess or checkers or poker or rummy or
Monopoly.
Yeah, Monopoly as well.
Yeah.
Just any game you can think of.
I like that idea. So even if just sort of resolving disputes via dialogue doesn't work, resolving disputes via a little game of Cluedo might. Yeah, you never know.
Just like figure out who the murderer is in a world of no violence.
John would ensure that nobody, this is Cookie again, he's making a regular appearance now, that he'd say that nobody earns more than £500,000 a year while children are being born into poverty. So he'd try to make the world a more equal place. Now, I don't know if that rule would work in practice, but I like the concept behind it.
Is it sort of like capitalist, communist? What's the one in the middle?
Socialist.
Is it like a...
I don't think it's socialist to say that anybody earning 500k should put into the pot, but it's probably less capitalist than I'd be comfortable with. But I like the idea. Chris Laney says to be kind every single day, which is a real simple one, but really nice. And then Alan Hopgood would get us like his first day, his first sort of law, he'd get rid of as many rules as possible.
Yeah.
So he'd just get rid of rules. I like that.
What, be very feral then?
Well, I just sort of, so you've got the freedom and autonomy to do more of what you want to do.
No school, woo!
No school. Yeah. What would you do as supreme? What would you do as supreme leader, Charlotte? No school, woo!
No, I'd do the musical thing.
Oh, right.
I would live in a constant musical, although the main...
High School Musical or not?
No.
Oh, right,
the main characters always ruin their own lives in musicals, though, so I wouldn't be a main character.
No. Just a side character. Lee Harris said 0 animal cruelty, and that is one that
it's not something we can control.
What do you mean?
Well, you can't control people's actions fully, can you?
Okay.
Because not everyone's going to be afraid. Not everyone's going to be abiding by these rules. That's why we have police and jail.
If you were supreme ruler of the world,
mind control, obviously.
I'd
I'd create mind control because then I can.
Can you make your mind up? Either you're going to have no school, musicals for everybody, or mind control. Which,
no, because if I have mind control, I could convince everyone to do both.
I mean, this is sounding a bit 1984 Orwellian dystopian world future-ish. This place where all you do is sing. There's mind control, and what was the other one? No school, so no education. So everybody stays uninformed. Feral families. You're creating the world's worst planet with your leadership. I don't know what's going on.
Exactly why I said I'd quit.
So that's Kath Keat said retired and unemployed people can't use the bank between 12 and 2. So while everybody else is on their lunch breaks trying to use the bank, nobody else can, apart from people who work and therefore can only go lunchtimes. And then Tamsin's come in and said, or supermarkets on a Saturday. So I don't know how they're going to check this. They're going to have somebody turn around and going, excuse me, mate, you're unemployed. Yeah, your name's not down, you're not coming in.
Like a barcode on your shoulder so it tells people if they're unemployed, just scan it and just...
Are you going back to your dystopian world future where you start barcoding people?
This barcode you from birth, right?
Yeah, and then they start singing, I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you in, because they're musicals. And then they go, yes, I will not come in because of the mind control. And then they'll go, I don't know what you mean, because of the lack of school. This is your...
I didn't say there was no education, I said there was no school.
Oh, right, okay, that's
People
fine.
are going to be educated, they're just not going to
Okay, that's fine. Robbie White's made an appearance. She's come back into the fray. I think children should be very kind to all in-laws. And maybe send them on a lovely cruise. Paid for by their son-in-laws. Do you like that one, Chris, do you? Not really, Robbie, to be honest. Sounds like it's going to cost me a bit of cash, that supreme
leadership.
Decision. Yeah, leadership. And there's going to be a lot of in-laws going on cruises by the sounds of it. Justin Gaffney's back, and he said a complete and fair distribution of global wealth. So similar to John's, just having...
like a communist sort of world?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe sort of somewhere in the middle.
One of the things people say are very communist. Put that out there.
So John and Justin, Charlotte thinks that if you became supreme leader in the world, you turn it into a communist state. I'm a bit worried about that. However, we have got some lovely acts of kindness, listeners' kindness stories that I'd like to share. Would you like to hear them?
Yes, please.
Kuso had a good one this week. He says, kindest thing I've done, proposed to my wife.
Aww.
Kindest thing I've received, she said yes.
Aww.
What do you think of that? That's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the next one, Nathan, and I really like this. Nathan said, the kindest thing that I've ever received is my stepdad taking me on at the age of 2. And what we might do in future weeks, listeners, and if you know anybody who'd be really insightful to talk about this, is talk about how kind adoption is and how it helps children. And because we don't know anything about that at this point, Charlotte, do we? So it'd be good to get somebody's insight on how supporting children who aren't with their natural mums and dads and how kind that is would be really useful. So let us know if you know anybody who can talk about that.
Because my generation's only view on adoption is Tracy Beaker, so I don't know if there's any good.
Yeah, but Tracy Beaker was in a home, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was.
Okay.
But they were always trying to get her adopted, and she always got rejected.
Oh no! Why did she get rejected?
Have you never seen an episode of Tracy Beaker?
She was a bit of a scoundrel on the road, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but certainly that didn't happen to Nathan. Nathan was his stepdad took him on his own at the age of 2, and the kindest thing he's done is, and this is a repeating theme, he signed up for the donor register, which is a really nice thing to do, isn't it? So that's it for this week's podcast. It's been another good one. I've really enjoyed it. Have you, Charlotte?
Yes.
Awesome, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.